Hi, Tessa Keo again. And it's that time of year, and it's happening more and more often, when Google has made changes to our home screen or how we use Google, and we get a little lost or they've made some improvements that we can't quite figure out because we don't go into Hangouts that often or perhaps use some of their other services. And the reason that this came up was I was trying to speak with someone today about using a Google Hangout. And I am so used to Google Hangouts and have been involved in this Google community for probably about 18 months now, that I forgot that if someone is just coming to the Google platform, it might be difficult and it might not be clear. Now, this person is pretty tech savvy and is very familiar with understanding how his computer works. However, he was not able to get Google Hangouts to work for him. And I think this was an issue of his extensions or perhaps how the extension was downloaded and Google wasn't reading it correctly. But we went through a couple of things, rebooting the computer, uninstalling the extension, reinstalling the extension, and he finally just needed to ask Google what the issue was. But for those of you who are already in the community, hopefully this is the type of screen that you're seeing on a daily basis now. Google is getting rid of the iGoogle page, and this is where a lot of us had our reader or perhaps we had some widgets. But now what we're getting is this screen. It's very clean, it's taking you directly to Google search, and it's showing you a couple of things. So I wanted to talk with you about the changes before our next Google Hangout, and maybe you can refamiliarize yourself with some of the Google services or products. Now, the first thing I wanted to show you is you've gone into Google, and this is now my home screen, and you can see it right here. This is where it takes me. My dashboard takes me directly to Blogger, which is where I have my two very sad blogs right now because I haven't had the opportunity to update and blog. I need to get better with that. These are some of the things that I follow, and I'm just going to show you. I might have items in Google+. I have blogs that I follow here. I have reference, technology, major research, and by that I have, my subscription sites. I have my One Name Study, my One Place Study, Legacy Family Tree. So that gives you an idea of how I break things down. I also include research that I'm doing in Europe, North America, Scandinavia. And so those are the things that I use there. And then this will take you to your other bookmarks that are on your toolbar, and this will take you to your other bookmarks that you have. Now this is the center. This is where you type in your search, but this is where you're going to go to your Google Plus stream. And the way that you know that is because it says plus and whatever your name is. You can go to Gmail directly here. You can take a look at your images. You notice this small box that has 9 small squares in it. These are your apps. So it's a process of going to your YouTube, your Maps, your Gmail, your Drive, Play if you want to purchase anything or see free apps and widgets, your calendar, and it will also direct you to more, any of the things that you use, maybe Blogger, Translate, what have you. But these are the types of things, and you want to add, you can add even more from Google. These are where your apps are going to be in the future. This is your notifications. Now, I'm up to date since it's Saturday and I've been up for a few hours. So I've checked all of my notifications. So this little bell is blank. Now, if I wanted, and here we go. I have an unread notification right here. This is your share button and this is your avatar. So if I were to click in here, you can see my email information, but I can also change my avatar if I were going into Legacy Virtual Users Group Community or the page, or if I were going on to another page that I moderate or own. And this could be a personal page or it could be a business page. And those are nonprofit as well as profit businesses. So you're going to want to take a look down here, if you haven't been here recently, to the new privacy and terms. And this is an area that some people have been discussing. They've been wringing their hands over it. But I would suggest that Google does a very good job of informing you when they're going to change their privacy policies. And one of the things they're going to do is they are going to allow, if you have plussed something or commented on it and it's something that could be viewed as an advertisement. Maybe you make a comment about a great coffee shop. Google's going to try and match that up with the coffee shop and have it almost look like you're endorsing it to a certain extent. You can clearly go in here to the privacy and the terms and opt out of having any of your information there. I did that the day it came up. No problems. You can also go into your settings right down here. And I think this is one of those things that people don't really look at, this kind of gray area. Maybe they don't notice it because it's not black writing, it's kind of a gray writing. But go ahead and click around anywhere here. Learn more about Google if you have any questions. But the thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into your Google+. And when you do this, and I'm just showing you whatever shows up on my screen here, so we're winging it. But this is my Google Plus stream, and I think those of us who joined Google Plus at the beginning understand what a stream is. For those who have just joined recently, Google doesn't refer to it as a stream anymore. It's just your Google Plus page. So we're here at my page. This is the home button, and as you can see, when I hovered over that arrow, it shows me home, my own profile, people, and this is where your circles are, where my photos are. I never look at what's hot. I do go to communities. If I have an event or I'm setting up an event, this is where it goes. So this is where I'm going to be posting the Legacy Virtual Users Group event. Hangouts on Air. This is the button you click on when you want to start a Hangout on Air. And as you'll recall, that is a live Hangout that's being streamed to everyone, and it's also being recorded. So it will show up on your YouTube channel, which is affiliated with your site. It's going to show up there. If you have pages that you either own or moderate, this is where these pages show up, and you can take a quick look at them here and you can jump back and forth between them. So if I were working in the Legacy Virtual Users Group page, I'd be here. If I were working in the community, I'd be right there. This is another area where you can see settings. I haven't really played with local. That's about the same as what's hot for me. But here again, they're making you aware with a red writing right here that there are new privacy terms, so check it out. You can also look at maps, you can go to feedback, you can take a tour, and just like Legacy has, there's always a help button. Take advantage of the help button, take advantage of asking a question, whether you post here in the general stream, whether you post in one of your circles, and mine are listed right here across the top, and then if I click on more, it lists all the rest of my circles. And if you go to the bottom, this is where you change your stream layout, so it's still called stream. I have 2 columns showing here. You could also have 1 column if that's your preference. You just click on whatever your preference is there. Now the other thing that you can do, and that again was in more, the other thing you can do is you can have start a hangout from here. Anywhere where there's this green quote mark here is the hangout, or you could start a hangout party, and I believe that's just adding more than 1 or 2 people. It's not that one-on-one hangout, it's a few people. But even the hangout party is not recorded. You need to be going into, and you just click on that to close, you need to be going to Hangouts on Air, and that has, we missed it, that has the yellow quote mark. So the difference, a Hangout on Air is being recorded, and you will have to check that box each time so that you're aware it's being recorded. So those things aren't going to go out by mistake, or going into a Hangout here. Now, if you were to take a look at your unread notification, you'll see that Pat Richley Erickson has commented on 2 posts that I talked about, or that I was following, and then this gentleman has also. And you can go through your notifications, scroll through any old ones, but if you're up to date, it will show you anything that still is lit up hasn't been read yet, and anything that's grayed out has been. So those are some of the things that should help you get around a little bit more easily in Google+. Now, one other thing that you should pay attention to is if you have said that you're going to a hangout, and maybe you've said that you're going, maybe you haven't responded yet. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. It asks me if I'm going, and I say yes, maybe, or no. If I say maybe, you'll see that these two items show up in my time zone, not the time zone of whoever set this up, because for instance, this one here is set up by Julie Goucher, and it's for the Book of Me. And she's in England, so there is no way it's 8:30 her time in England, but it's 8:30 Pacific time. And so these will show up on your calendar if you choose to have your events pushed through to your calendar. And you'll see them here in upcoming events, which usually stays up in this top right-hand corner. So and you can also view all of the events. You're in a position to see when you have things scheduled, October 14th or 15th, and when I put the event up for Legacy Virtual Users Group, it will show up as October 17th, which is the Thursday. And it will show up in your own time zone. So this is not one of those situations where you have to ask, what time is that? Because Google figures out the time for you once you say yes or maybe. If you say no, Google doesn't worry about giving you the time because you're not going to it. So those are a couple of quick things. Now, when a hangout is scheduled and you were to go to this event, what you hope for is that you can attend the hangout by clicking on this event. And usually the event moderator has placed the link in the stream for this hangout. The other thing that you can do in our community, and I'm just going to show you what the communities look like here, is you could go into the Legacy Virtual Users Group community, and you'll see the various posts that I've done so far this month for Family History Month. We're doing Tuesday's tip every single day if I survive it. But one of the things you'll notice here is about this community is always in the top right-hand corner. And you could invite people to join the community. If you know anyone else that uses Legacy or that you think this community might be useful to, you could invite. You can share the community. You have these buttons as well. And I would encourage you to do that. It increases our membership. It also increases the interaction. The more people, the more active people that are in the community, the better interaction this community has. And that's what it's all about. It's not a one-way street here. I'm not providing you with information. We're providing each other with information. Some of you have seen the videos that I've done or read some of the comments that I've had, and then you add to it, and that's really useful. Some people respond and tell me, how they used the index, and that might be different than how I use the index. And those kinds of comments are useful to other members to read. If somebody has a question, there are a number of people in the community who can answer it. So this is a really good place to come to, not only to watch a hangout that the Legacy Virtual Users Group does, but also to post. And when you come over here to the community, you see that there's a number of different topics. And just to remind you, you always want to take a look at guidelines when you first go to a community if you're not familiar with the guidelines. Be sure and read that, and that's why I have the asterisks on either side so that you know what the guidelines are for posting, for putting any kinds of links on, that type of interaction. And then if this is your first opportunity to be involved with the Legacy Virtual Users Group, click on the Getting to Know You tab. And what you would do, I'll show you, is if you were typing something new here, and obviously this is me because I'm doing it, you share your post, you type in whatever you want. If you have a photo to attach, a link, a video, or an event that you think is going to be something useful, you just go ahead and click on any of those. And then down here, you tell us which section it goes in. I've been using Tuesday's tips a lot this month. We also encourage you to put your first post in getting to know you, so you can tell us how long you've been using Legacy, what your favorites are, what things are difficult for you, what you'd like to learn more about. If you have any tips or suggestions, those could go right in here. If you have a question, how do I do that? That's a good place for it. If you want to comment on any Hangouts or take a look at the Hangout information, you could click on this box right here. And there's a number of other items here, and I'd take a look at it. If you want to discuss add-ons in Legacy, maybe there's a particular program you're interested in, whether that's Gen Smarts or L Tools, or some mapping programs or clues or what have you, this is the area that you talk about it in. But keep in mind, we're not talking about selling programs. We're talking about how you use programs or would like to use programs with Legacy. And some of those add-ons could be Access or Excel or Google Workbooks or what have you. Anything like that. So take a look and see what best fits the category or the topic that you want to discuss. And if you're not sure, go ahead and just use the first one, which is discussion. Because if there's any issue for you, it's not a problem. I can always go in and change it as one of the moderators or the owner. So no worries if you get it in the wrong category. We go in about once a day and make sure everything's in the right place and just do a little cleanup. No worries. So if you were to go down to my YouTube channel, and we'll click on there, and I will say Google's been a little slow today. This is my YouTube channel, and if you haven't been here before, you could watch what it's all about, but you can also take a look at any of the items in here, and you'll see at the bottom there's popular uploads and recent uploads, and this is Legacy Virtual Users Group, and I'll probably be moving it back up to the top now. I had my 20 with Tessa at the top, and that's for the Guild. All of the Tuesday's tips will show up in here. Anytime you want to watch any of the videos, you can just pretty much click through this list to see what you're interested in, and there's 20 items here. On the Tuesday's tips, you could take a look at any of the Tuesday's tips that we have going on, and there's 12 items in there, but they're listed, as are the Hangouts, and that's just in the users group, but each of the Hangouts is listed with the month and what the topic is, and then Tuesday's tips also show up in here. So anytime you just want to take a look through the YouTube channel, the other thing to keep in mind is that we're at home right now, and this is what mine looks like, but yours should be pretty similar. If you go into videos, what will happen is the current one will show up here, the live one, and it will say live right beside it, and that's what you're going to want to click on when we're having a live hangout. So you simply need to come over to the YouTube channel, and you get there from the Legacy Virtual Users Group community. You can go to the YouTube channel. You can also go to the Legacy Virtual Users Group site, but I'd like to encourage all of you. We started out with a site and we have a page, but we really want all the interaction to take place in the community, because this is the place where we have the best ability to have people interact and not worry about posting to a site. Sites and pages came first, but the communities are where the most interaction is. So I would encourage all of you to be involved in the community and to interact. And that's the point of Tuesday's tip today. We're up to J, which is join. So I'd like you to join in the Legacy Virtual Users Group community. Hopefully all of you are members already. If you aren't, you've now seen where communities are and you could join in. And I'd like you not only to join in the community, but I'd like you to encourage other Legacy users to also join our community. And then I'd like you to join in and interact with us. So please go ahead and make some comments. It's a pretty simple thing to do. Just type your comment, your suggestion, your tip, what have you, right into that box and then share it with the rest of us. We look forward to interacting with you in the future, and we're so glad that you joined us.